Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, our speaker is Bill Brown. He's been a Toastmaster since 2002 and frames his experience as the process of becoming. He believes to become a better speaker, leader in person, this is due to Toastmasters. Bill is a client technology advocate, speaker, facilitator, author, technology coach, and owner at BD Brown Communications, LLC, a unique niche audiovisual and communications technology and consulting company that provides independent solutions consulting to vertical markets and education, houses of worship, nonprofits, and small businesses. Please help me welcome Bill Brown. Bill?
Thank you very much, Mike. Like he said, I would like to frame this presentation as we are in the process of becoming. So I see Toastmasters as a great learning opportunity or an incubator. And so here we go. So when we think about being an officer for a club, I like to start off with the how. You know, how did I first become a Toastmaster officer? Well, I think there's three ways that we become officers in our club. We are either elected, selected, or volunteered. And most of the times we're volunteered when we don't show up to the meeting. So those three are the ways that I have heard about being an officer. What did you think when you were asked or after you were elected or selected? Was it a great opportunity or a daring, almost scary situation? And so that is something, understanding the feelings that go on behind it. And why did you stay? It's like sometimes I felt there was the pressure of I didn't want to let anybody from the club down. I didn't want to let myself down. But there was an external pressure that kept me around. But it was a great decision that I made. And so asking those three questions kind of get us started, and it's just the beginning. Now sometimes you feel like in your club like this. I love this illustration where I don't know if we're the bug, the club is the bug, and the members are pulling in one direction. And then you have other members just watching and seeing how things going. And then you have the officers up here trying to pull the club in another direction. So that's what it feels like. But really, this is what it is. It is a group of people from all walks of life really trying to understand how they can be better communicators, better leaders, and better people. And so as leaders, we have that responsibility to help them accomplish that goal and to provide them with that professional development. And we're a part of that. But there are challenges ahead. There's a lot of things that I think sometimes we don't realize that are a concern because we're so excited about being Toastmasters and understanding that. The biggest challenge that I think is that we get elected in about May, and then we take on our role in July. So during that time, if there is not a lot of group development where you're self-organizing that group and that leadership group there, and to really understand what your mission and your purpose is for the next year that is coming, you kind of walk into it blind. And so you get your pen, you get inducted, you get your resources, and then you just wait. And then there's a level of trust that needs to be there, because that's important. And then you adjust to the different styles and the different personalities, and then you're able to deliver for your club. And so trying to understand that, and so looking at that, that can be very challenging for you to deal with. Some clubs think your role is more flat. It's where you have the leader, you have the president, you have the VP of Education, VP of Membership, PR, Treasurer, Sergeant at Arms, and Secretary, and then everything, all the members fall under, first come in through the Membership VP and then move over to Education, and then everything goes that way. And that should be very happy. I believe it's more like this, that you have a president that will take on the responsibility of coming up with a plan, of a theme almost, to look at the goals of your club and the club culture and the tone and the mission and the vision, and then share that with all the other members. So it is something that once you fully understand the goals and what the leader or the president wants to do for the year, then there is that working together. So it's very important for everyone to understand. And so you're not considered staff, dare I say, but you're a working leadership team, which sometimes is very difficult, but it's very rewarding at the same time. So here are my 7 tips of being a successful officer, plus a few more. First thing first, number 1, read your manual, and not just read the role that you have been elected or the role that you're assuming, but really read and really understand what everyone else's roles are, and so how they are very much aligned with each other. That is very important. And so the more that you understand that, the more you'll be able to focus on the program, because that's why you're here. And I think that is the genius of Toastmasters, is it allows you to really not make it up as you go along, but really find what works well for you within a very clear system. And most of the times you will be successful as a leader if you understand the parameters, the guidelines, the things that are important to the organization and how you can fit into it. Number 2, I would suggest that you embrace your role as being an officer and a leader. Even though this is a leadership development club and you're learning to be an effective leader, most of the times you are seen as a leader before you have all the knowledge of being a leader. So if you embrace that, you will be able to really understand that people are looking at you to be a role model and to be their cheerleader and supportive. And so you can't always act like, well, I just started here, I'm still learning my job, which may be the case, which is the case in most cases, but it's more important that you embrace your role as president or VP of E or any other role, and assume that. And so if you don't fully understand everything that you want to do or need to do for your club, you have embraced that, and you will let them know that, hey, I don't have the answer for you right now, but I'll get it to you. And that's showing leadership. Teamwork is key. I love this picture. The first time I saw this image, I assumed that these these two dogs were up to no good. And sometimes that all we need is that little help. And so that teamwork, understanding the best way to get the end results. And so the more that you work together, the more that you understand that final goal, if that is doing something that maybe you weren't meant to do, or something that somebody felt that you couldn't do, work together to do that. That is very important in a leadership team. Number four, is speak with one voice. And it's not as what some people would think as, a dictator, or something, and from one thing. But I think after you have your leadership team meetings, you have a clear understanding of what needs to be done for the club or at the meetings, that there's a clear voice of what's happening. So your club should never hear about internal squabbles with the officers, because as the image before with the bugs in the ants, you'll be pulling your people in different directions, and people will just sit by and wait and see what happens. And then when that happens, then you are not encouraging people, and you are not empowering people to be effective communicators and leaders, which is the reason why we're there. 5 is, I think, very important, and I think sometimes that some officers forget, because they're so busy doing everything that needs to get done, they forget that there are some personal goals that they have, and it's not just speaking, and it's not just filling out the manuals or anything. I can use myself as an example. One challenge that I had in this year with me being an area governor and a president, time management, a goal of improving my time management skills was very important. So I set those goals, and I had things that I wanted to accomplish, and I told my team, and I said, hey, this is something that I want to work on, and I want you guys to hold me to it, and on that, and I think we did a good job. And so there's a number other officers that said the same thing, that they improve their email communication and improve just speaking to members about Toastmasters, and having that a clear message was a goal to really understand that, because most of the times you just come in after a year or so, and if you want to do some leadership responsibilities, you were selected or volunteered to take a leadership role, and that's how you do it. So you're still learning the program as you're in leadership. So having those goals, I think that is very, very important, and that's a great thing to do. The other thing that I have learned is to reach out to other clubs, and the one way that's an obvious way to do it, and there's at least 2 times of a year where you have your TLIs, but I would encourage you, also to find local clubs and talk to the officer. If you're a VP of education, talk to another club VP and just see what they're doing. You'd be amazed how well you'll pick up on things, or you be able to bounce things off and to bring back to your club. And I think that's the great part of the TLIs, is the shared stories, other than just the training to go through the manuals, but the shared stories that you get. So having that local network, having people that you can talk to about how it is, being on the leadership team and understanding the role. And it gets you out of that that smaller that bubble, because sometimes we feel that we're doing everything right, and there are some things that don't get addressed because we don't feel that there's resources available to us. And the great thing about Toastmasters is that people were very helpful. People like the idea of helping and sharing that knowledge. And so I would just suggest that you go out and get it. Number 7 is, this is big for me, and it's something that I encourage you to do, is try big and fail big. I mean, sometimes you don't fail, but I mean, risk it. And most of the times people don't try it. And I always encourage the officers on my team to suggest something. Let's think out of the box. We have a framework of things we need to do. Let's try it. And the wonderful thing about my club in particular is, we're a number of entrepreneurs, so we're a themed club, and so you have that mentality already to try it and see if it happens, and to understand that. And so sometimes when things don't go the way you think they should, or you miss the mark, that's the great learning opportunity. And I think in that year time frame, if you're not trying things, if you're not willing to make that that big fail, is you'll miss that opportunity. So that's it. So the summary, real quick, to kind of get it, is the number 1: read the handbook. And I'm amazed in some times how much we don't really look at the resources that are available. And once you read it, embrace that role, and then understand that you're a part of a team and that you need to work together and to do it. And so once you're working on that leadership team there, you're able to have one clear voice, so the club and everyone else understands that you are going in the same direction. And set those personal goals for yourself, because that's important. And don't be afraid to reach out and try big things, because that's where you're going to be able to learn. And I think we have extra points, and I have 3 points for you. I think the other thing about leaders, and especially the officers, that we sometimes don't make the time to meet. We come to our club meetings and we have conversations outside of, right before the meeting or right after the meeting, and we feel that's enough, and we wonder why the officers are not gelling together. So find times to meet. And one thing that we do is we have a monthly conference call, and we look at what happened the month before and kind of have a lesson learned, and look at what we're going to do the upcoming month. And so having that, and we also find time to meet one-on-ones in the different areas, to kind of to make sure to follow up, to know that they have that support. So that is another tip that I think could be successful. Don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, there is a lot. You would be amazed how many resources there are out there available to you, to not for you to just be successful within your club, but to be more successful in your personal life and in your career. And so I would suggest going to Toastmasters International and looking at the materials and things that was out there. So the challenges that will come up in your club, someone else has experience, and someone else that's a Toastmaster is willing to help you so you don't have to experience that again. And the last thing is, what is your club saying? And I think, listening and asking your members, how are we doing? What what do we need to do better? And sometimes we wait until people are grumbling or are really not not knowing what's going on before we communicate. But the more that we keep that line of communication open, it really helps people understand that it's all about them. It's a club that that they can grow in. And so, as you can see, this quote here is important to me because we always look at the beginning as the most important part of the work. And sometimes as leaders we have a number of beginnings. And so when we start off with that blank sheet. And that blank sheet gives us the opportunity to do great things. And so I want to congratulate you on being elected or selected or even volunteered to do this, because being a leader and an officer in your club is very rewarding. And I want to encourage you to use these 7 points and the other ones to consider to improve what you're doing for your club. Thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon.